All right, guys, time for live at 9:45 with Van Rock Customs here. And I have a really special show tonight. So I have both of the guys from GCM, both Chris and Dana. As soon as we get them in and ready to go, I believe they'll be logging in through Chris's account. And so I wasn't watching as people were logging in. I was putting some last minute things on there, but I'm searching for Chris right now, and I'll get him added into what's going on. Or Chris, you can even add me if you find me before I find you. So, how do you get in? Should be just add the video stuff. So, there's a camera with a plus sign. I'm really hoping we don't have a repeat of last time. There we go. Oh, why will it not let me? I'm having a repeat of last time. That's cool. Hi, Scott. How's it going? I know, practice. I see it, Ryan. I was getting ready to, but the GCM guys were busy up until the last minute, and so was I. So we'll go from there. I believe it's not on my end, though, because I see that I can add a bunch of different people, so I'm not sure what's going on, guys. Yeah, we did just test Joe. So I did test with Joe. I know my stuff's ready and I'm good. So it might be the iPad. You might be correct. So I'm not sure, Chris, if you're on an iPad or if you're on a phone. I think that was the problem with Scott's, was when he switched devices, we were good to go. Does the video include poutine? Scott. Nice comments there, Donnie. Oh, perfect. There's my notification. They are joining us now.
Hey.
Hey.
Okay, so I'm gonna go get the holder for the phone because I was trying to use my PC and it won't let me do that.
Yeah, we had a problem last week with Scott, and it didn't like his iPad for some reason. So.
Okay, here, you hold that.
Perfect view.
Sorry, guys, I was just drinking a beer. How are things going?
Good. How are they in Canada?
Fantastic, actually. We're just sort of getting set up, and we were talking about tonight, and we were actually quite enthused about what's going on and getting to know everyone out there. So yeah, I'm interested to follow through on this.
Yeah, absolutely. So for me, it's weird because you guys have interviewed me before, so
right.
I remember sitting on the other
that
side of the whole thing and being asked questions and answering them in the whole 9 yards. So it's kind of a interesting full circle kind of experience going on over here.
Is this didn't they call that payback now?
I guess, kind of. Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Payback will work.
Now, of course, we interviewed you. What was the vehicle? I mean, I know what it was, but why don't you tell us? Because that was an incredible vehicle.
Thank you. It was the Tri-Van. It's sitting off camera over here. It's usually back here in the corner, but right now I have. I felt like I should throw in the skeleton build, so kind of an ode to GCM. So it's sitting on the shelf in the background. So
nice. That still to date is probably one of the most unique builds that we've come across. So yeah, we were really interested in doing that video.
Yeah, 3-wheeled truck doesn't happen too often.
And then of course I was judging one of the at the event, and I saw that thing go through the course, and it was incredibly capable for what it was. So
yeah.
Hats off to you.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it for sure. So we got some viewers. We are now connected. Let's just kind of kick it off and go from there. So most of my questions are pointed at the both of you, so you can figure out who answers when or how. This is the first time I've interviewed two people at the same time, so that's a little bit of a curve there as well. But tell us a little bit about yourselves. So,
Canadian, of course, way back in the snow belt.
Hey,
Yeah, the whole bit. Yeah. I grew up here in Ottawa, Ontario, Canada. Of course, when I was a kid, I was into RCs. I worked for the city. I enjoy what I do. I enjoy the hobby with Chris. Of course, we'll get into it, but Chris and I met years back, and yeah, so it's just an enthusiastic builder who's managed to team up with someone like Chris, and we have a lot of fun. So
awesome.
yeah, I'm 100% Canadian too. Although I have lived in America a bunch of different times. And what can I say? I think this is a fantastic hobby for anybody that likes to wrench on stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm totally drawn into wrenching. Especially up here in Canada, I'm drawn into wrenching where you have a heater.
yeah, that's for sure.
I get it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
cool hobby.
Yeah. We met, we clicked, and here we are doing videos with the like of you, and honored to be here.
Thank you, guys.
And we each have to deal with. We still have to balance family and work and all that other stuff, just like everybody else.
Yeah.
So it's just it's one of those things where you just kind of have to make it all work, and it's actually fun. It's fun to share this with the kids. It's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd agree. I mean, I've got a young one, and I'm excited for him to sort of blossom into the hobby if that's what he wants to do and enjoy it all. So yeah, it's we're just average Joes.
All right. How long have you been in the hobby?
Geez. Of course, like anything, there were gaps for me in the hobby.
Yeah.
A 13-year-old dad on Sunday watching NASCAR, complete gearhead, loved all cars, anything mechanical, planes, trains, automobiles. My dad purchased, first a few toy grade RCs at Christmas, and, enjoyed it. And then I got my first hobby grade RC, which was the Muari Coors Melling Thunderbird, which was like the Ninja. And they make the Javelin, the Golden Eagle. There's a whole bunch of them out there. Sort of a competitor to me, to Tamiya back then.
Yeah.
And had one then, and I was about 13 years old. Loved it, enjoyed it, raced it around. Respected it, though. I surprisingly didn't completely destroy it. And then, of course, there's a gap where life moves on, school gets busy, life gets busy. You find girls, that kind of stuff, and got out of it for a while, and then years later got back into it as trying to relive my youth, I guess is the best way. And as we get into it, that's one of the reasons why Chris and I met.
All right.
My dad was into RC, and it's like the family thing, right? So my dad was into RC, not into NASCAR and all that kind of real gearhead stuff, but. Funny thing is, when we moved from the East Coast to Ontario in Canada, the only car we had for our four-person family was a 71 Corvette. So
you sat on the...
We literally moved here in a 1-year-old X-Track car that still had the fiberglass floors redone in the parking lot so that we could not, do the Flintstones on the way over to Ontario. The whole wrenching on stuff has been in my family forever, right? Sure. And my dad was building balsa aircraft and flying RC. He was doing actually our YouTube channel has an interview with him that we did. Remember that?
Oh, that was a great video.
And he used to have to hand build the radios and everything back then. The radios came in like a bucket of parts, and you had to solder them all together and make all the sticks work. And yeah, it was crazy.
Mm-hmm.
That is crazy.
So,
yeah, I do remember actually. My father was into RC planes at the time, and we took them out a bunch of times. And he'd say, "Hey, Danny, you want to take over?" And it would end up in the ground, and that would be the end of it. But yeah, it was just sort of there was a bit of family in it with some history for sure.
Oh yeah,
awesome. Thanks, guys. If you weren't in RC, what would probably be your hobby of choice?
This is a tough one, I think.
Yeah.
but I was building models, your typical 125th models way back in the day.
Yeah, me too.
Typically cars or trucks, not really planes for that matter. So I think I would still do that. I really enjoy that. And that's what we're doing in the RC world now. It's basically model building, and we're making them RC. However,
Yeah.
I would probably be into model building. That might be ho-hum, but I still enjoy that aspect.
I love the models all this time. In my older years here now, I've gotten in. We live with tons of water. Dana lives on the one river, and we live on this corner of these two huge rivers, and there's water for days. And I just sort of took up a little bit of boating and fishing in the last couple of years, and I freaking love my boating and fishing now. So maybe it's just because it's like an escape away from work.
Yeah.
You go out on the
Yeah.
water and it's like all
For sure.
quiet and stuff, and it's so nice out. I don't know. I just love it. So I think if it wasn't RC taking up so much of my time, I would probably be spending a lot more time in the boat doing some fishing.
I also, I think, would and we've done it. We go flying, RC flying, which is RC related. But if there was another hobby in that genre, I definitely would do RC planes. As you can see, Chris has got a few.
Yeah.
I find it very challenging. I would be what you consider a beginner intermediate flyer, and I love the challenge. I love that aspect of the RC world also.
Yeah, we both like.
Nice. I can say I've never flown an RC airplane. I've flown RC helicopters, the little ones, and some drones, but never an airplane. I think.
Oh, you have to try it. It's a lot of fun. They're incredible, and there's so much variety. Like it's awesome. It's a nice escape and something completely different than anything on the ground.
Yeah.
And if you build them right or buy them right, then they look real, man.
Yeah, exactly. There's a lot of scale or realism into them, for sure.
Yeah, you get them with the retracts and the whole bit, and when they hit the ground, the dirt flies the same way as a real one.
Yeah, for sure. Or the wings, for that matter.
Yeah, the wing rips off just the same.
Yeah.
Parts fly. And when he crashes into your airplane midair, then the canopy flies off and pieces come out. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Perfect. How long, I mean, you talked about it briefly a little bit there, but you guys must have known each other for a while now. How long have you known each other, and do you care to kind of share that story?
Why don't you? Well, I don't know who should go here first.
Oh, you know what your line is.
Yeah, of course.
So, I'll tell you.
Yeah.
So me and my buddy Aaron were out driving RCs around. We were driving an SC10 4x4 and Exo buggy, bashing around at the hardware store parking lot, and then this guy pulls in his turbo Dodge car that he has, and he comes jumping out of the car, and then he says,
"Hey, are you guys into RCs?" Like, it was kind of obvious, but
so funny.
The story behind that, or I was quite passionate. They must have looked at me like, "Who's this weirdo?" But it was neat in our small town. So we were sort of a small town just outside of a large city.
Yeah.
And I was excited to see that someone else within our small town was racing around with some RCs. So of course I couldn't drive by. I had to stop and say hi and see if we could strike a chord, because I was just getting back into the hobby and sort of really enjoying it. And I think that's how we met. And the reason why I was getting back into the hobby was I owned a dog. The dog passed away. I spent all my life, sort of 10 years of my life, walking the dog, enjoying it. And then he passed away. Had some extra time on my hands, and I rebuilt the RC car that I had in my youth, this Bill Elliott NASCAR equivalent. And then I got into a few Tamiya builds, and so I started to get reacquainted into the RC world and enjoying it as an adult. Of course, I go driving by now, and I see these two adults racing around in the parking lot, and I was like, "Hey, man, we've got similar interests. I need to stop and say hi." So,
and that was 5 years ago.
Yeah, 5 or 6 years ago.
Yeah, so it was like from the first day.
Yeah,
we realized that we were sort of kindred spirits in RC, right? So he's like, "Oh yeah, I just built this Tamiya high left, and I turned it's got the Toyota body on it and stuff, and I did a little work on it and stuff, And then we went to his place to look at it there. I think it might have been the same day.
Yeah, I wasn't
And-
going to let them go away. I was
The
like, you need
truck
to
was
come
like-
to my house. And they're like, I
You
don't
just
want to
see
go
that-
to a stranger's house.
I
I'm like,
saw
you're
this-
coming with me.
I saw the guy's truck, and I was like, I have nothing to compete with this.
Wow.
Like, I don't know what to say. Like, this guy is so into scale trucking at such a high level. Like, I have
Yeah.
nothing to compete with this.
Well, thank you. I don't know if that's true, but thank
It's
you for
always
that.
been true.
So yeah, from then we sort of hit it off, and and we've been doing this ever since, and enjoying it, and creating an awesome friendship in the same time. So
It's been good.
That's awesome, guys. That's actually a really cool story that I had no clue about. So I was really interested to hear for sure. When it comes to building, do you like the big tire trucks or the small tire trucks?
I definitely like tiny trucks or tiny tires, small tires for sure. Nothing too big. I like the tires to be tucked underneath the bodies, which tends to warrant smaller wheels or smaller tires. So yeah, a little bit more realism, scale, whatever word you want to use there. So anything small and scale and realistic is up my alley.
Nice.
That's definitely where I'm at now, but that's not where I was
No.
at
No.
10 years or 11 years ago when we started this thing.
So yeah, however many years ago we met, I walked in here and saw what you were building, and what was that huge monstrosity that went a zillion miles an hour, and the tires would balloon, and it was a metal monstrosity, and it would kill small children if it hit them, which is tragic. And
So this is sort of a connection to one of your other questions, right? How did this whole thing start?
Yeah.
11 years ago, I started, I was doing Generis Custom Metalwork as a full-time machine business, doing hardware for fiber optics and stuff. And that really, because I was sponsoring a guy named Jason who was out in the West Coast, and he was running in a No Limit off-road monster truck series. And I had started making monster truck chassis for the No Limit RC circuit, and those guys were like doing full blown 4x4 monster truck racing, like 4S batteries back then was a big deal, and then the Savage electric Savage came out just about the same time we were in the No Limit circuit. And then we created a brand new chassis set and suspension and all kinds of stuff for the big Savage, the big electric Savage 456S, and low center gravity chassis. We changed all the caster angles and stuff and made them drift and you name it. And so it was big tires over here for a really long time. Quite a long time.
yeah, I remember seeing that thing and just saying, wow, that's huge. Definitely something that I kind of missed and wasn't all that into. I sort of dove into the small scale or small tires scaleism.
Yeah.
I missed that whole monster truck era. Unique though, there's a lot of cool stuff out there, and with the recent vintage Bigfoot that's out there, ooh, that's a nice piece. That's a nice kit. So I do like the big tires, but I tend to steer towards the small tires.
I have none of that now, by the way.
Yeah, I mean,
None.
just looking at the wall behind you, you couldn't tell that the little tires are your thing. So,
Yeah, no,
do you prefer the brushed motors or brushless motors?
You?
Brushed. 90% of the stuff that I have is brushed. I mean, brushless is an incredible source of power, and they're amazing, absolutely amazing, and the technology keeps growing and growing. But maybe it's because of my age or because of being traditional or back in the era, but I certainly like brushed. They work well in water. I don't know. I just prefer them. I can't say why, other than that's something I've known. I like the feel of it in the trigger. Yeah, I appreciate brushed motors.
Yeah. I was doing $250 to $350 worth of electronics per truck when I first started scale trucking.
Yeah, isn't that the truth, eh?
I was doing 17.5 censored brushless Mamba Max Pro. And at this time, I remember the AX10 had just come out. The Honcho was out. I was racing SC trucks in the open class. So I had all this stuff sitting around. So I was just, and then I was running 2-cell batteries on them, and I put them right in the scale trucks because it was censored and it had tons of power, and I just had the stuff there. And all the trucks now are all down to well under $100 for electronics for the entire truck.
Yeah, I'd agree with you.
It's a brushed motor. It's a low amp ESC. It's a low amp but still capable servo metal gears. Most of the unless it's competition, and like the Cruiser there where I've got a winch and lights and all that stuff, I don't even use a back in the trucks.
Yeah.
And it's gone to a very happy but low power truck.
Well, then
I love it.
I think that warrants the type of driving too. Like, we're trying to drive in a real scale or realistic fashion. So, if I get stuck or get jammed, I'm not horsepowering out of it. I'm trying to find a different path or put my tire in a different route or rut to get out of. So I don't need a huge amount of power or electronics. I just need to drive in a scale fashion, and that warrants that sort of $150 electronic kit, and that involves a brushed motor.
All right.
For me, it does.
Yep.
Thanks. I run some of both, and I see what you're saying when you're trying to drive scale. And so I think the least amount of money in any of my electronics is probably in the tri-van, because I didn't really have any desire to put any like crazy brushless power in it, because I wasn't real sure that it was going to hold together the way it was. So
Good point.
The reduced amount of power was kind of beneficial.
Yeah, it's true.
And then, the more power you have, you tend to break stuff too, right? And I'm not into breaking stuff. So, I mean, the stuff we make is pretty bomb-proof, but, it's just more expense. So why not just drive in a scale fashion?
Now, I will add to that, though, that I think every truck that we have, I think maybe for the last probably 3 or 4 years at the minimum, they're all 3-cell trucks.
Yeah.
So we gear them down.
Yeah.
And we run high turn, low power motors in them, and we run low amp ESCs. But when you run a 3-cell battery in them, you still get the wheel speed.
Yeah.
If you need to brap, you can brap.
Yeah, that's true.
So it's been a pretty nice trade-off, to be honest.
Nice. I like it. Most of the time when you're scrolling through Facebook or wherever, if anybody asks about a motor speed control combo, they're saying go big power. So it's interesting to hear somebody else say kind of the opposite of that. It's not your typical response, which is nice.
I will add to that. I cannot think of a single brushless truck that we have used for comp in the last 5 years.
I can't either.
Every single truck that we've ever put on a Sorka Trail or anything else has all been brushed. Every single one.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I've got trophies on brushed trucks.
Mm-hmm.
So it's enough.
Yeah. I totally follow that. It makes perfect sense. What do you like most about the RC hobby? Like, what is the one thing that is the biggest, coolest part of it, the draw?
I'll tell you what, it's kind of a 2-part answer, because for me, it turned out I wasn't expecting the RC community to be so incredibly awesome, but that's what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And what that turned into is actually a whole bunch of collaborations, building trucks together with other people.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot tell you how incredibly exciting that is, because my skill set is super limited. Like I can only do what I can do. You know what I mean? Dana does great at the stuff that he does, and we rarely build trucks together. Like his last one has a little bit of me, a little bit of him on it. But for the most part, he's been building his trucks, and you have like styrene skills there coming out of your ears, and you can handcraft whatever you want. I don't have those kinds of skills. So it's really important for me to not only do I really enjoy the community, but I also try to make use of the community the best I can. I find somebody who can print motors and accessories and stuff like, seriously, when you have guys out there that are like Brian and Tim and Dion and these guys who are printing stuff and doing accessories and doing work that I don't have time to go in styrene, like every bottle I want to put in my truck and stuff. And like, I don't have that. And to know all of these guys personally, and actually having traveled and met these people and shake their hand and know who they are, and like just really get a feel for what they do. It's so cool. And this year, we are going west in Western Canada. And there's two guys that I have recently just gotten some fantastic stuff from that are from the West Coast of Canada. And I finally get to meet them this year. And so, like, it's 100% community for me. That is the best thing that happened in the scale RC trucking that I did never expected.
You know, and I'm gonna have to completely agree with your comment. It's the community out there is amazing, you know, and coming together as a community. Like the latest build that I have, it really took the community to help me build this. You know, with everyone out there and meeting people and shaking hands, and then even going to the competitions and shaking people's hands and getting to meet them and seeing their builds and their incredible talent out there. I really love seeing the amazing builds that are out there. It's just the community is a really fantastic community to be a part of, and I'm privileged and lucky to be a part of it.
I've got to say, if anybody that's watching can find a way to drive up to a couple hours on a weekend or whatever and go and find a club and actually connect with some guys, oh man, it's the best thing ever.
Yeah,
just go do it. Don't even hesitate. Just get in the car, pile the whole family in or whatever, and just go.
Yeah, for sure.
It's so great.
I could not agree more with that statement. I try to encourage people all the time to come out to the comps, come out to the whatever. 3/4 of the fun at the comp is the conversation with other like-minded people, and the other quarter of it is the driving and all of that stuff. But 3/4 of your time is spent talking to people and hanging out and seeing what cool stuff they're doing and showing off your cool stuff. Because I mean, let's face it, we're all in this to share and show off and all of those things. So
it's show and tell all over again. I mean, you know, why grow up, right? Let's go to show and tell. Like it's grade 4 and you bring in that latest toy that you got. This is amazing. Like I don't want to ever grow up.
It's grade 34.
Nice. You guys alluded to that you travel to RC events, you compete in competitions. What would probably be your favorite event of the year that you go to?
Oh man.
Favorite of the year, I'm not sure. I mean, and this isn't you know, a plug or whatever, but the GCM Adventure Series I really enjoy because of how they've come together and who they reward and how they were developed. We've gone to so many different events under different sets of rules. I love them all. They're all great. They all have pros and cons. You know, indoor and outdoor events we've gone to. I like all the competitions, to be honest. They all have something to give and bring to the table. But I really like the GCM Adventure Series. It sort of sits well with our mindset.
You know, sorry for the coughing, by the way. The Adventure Series, we actually created Adventure Series for a specific reason, because it's so dang easy. And when we wanted to go and start something new in a new community that didn't really have a lot of easy trucking events going on, there was no Sorka stuff. There was maybe, you know, there was a little bit of this or a little bit of that. But at the most part, guys just want to come and at whatever skill level they're at, and then they want to drive their favorite truck. And so we created Adventure Series just for that. And I think the reason I like it so much is because it's just so dang easy for everybody.
Yeah, for sure.
And then the atmosphere is really light at Adventure Series because it's just so incredibly easy. It doesn't really matter what you have. You just bring what you have and then come and have a great time, and we'll try to create an event that's challenging and fun for everybody.
I mean, maybe we're selfish, but we want to see all of those builds out there and see how amazing you guys are, because you're all incredible builders.
It's true.
Yeah. So
I think Adventure Series. You know, the other one that I missed it last year, but I'm actually going there tomorrow, is the U.S. Scale Trials National that Brian puts on at Motorama.
Yeah.
We went down there a few years ago, and when for the first time we went down there, and I think it was the second year that it was running.
Yeah.
And literally what Brian Parker can do with a bunch of dirt in a cement building, I mean, with his crew and with Story and everybody else that's throwing shovels over there, you just literally can't believe how incredibly fun those guys can make a course. And I mean, who doesn't want to go inside to some warm building and crawl your truck for 2 days in the middle of February? Like everybody wishes they could do that up here in the north.
Mm-hmm.
So that's an event that's actually an incredible pile of fun.
Yeah, that event is amazing. You know, it's a motorama. So for gearheads,
Yeah.
I mean, the RC bit of it is in one building out of 10 buildings. And all the rest of the 10 buildings are these incredible one-to-one vehicles for inspiration. That's a really unique competition to go to.
It is. It's really unique.
Absolutely.
So I like that one too.
Yeah.
All right. Those are great answers.
Yep.
You talked a little bit about the GCM Adventure Series, and it sets it up so it's incredibly easy. Can you give like just a quick snippet, brief rundown of what exactly that entails, so that the people who are watching and maybe wouldn't know could pick up on like, hey, there's another version of how to do some tiny trucking out there.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, and I know exactly where you're going with this with our event that we put on, but I wanted to talk about something specific, and you talk about what you enjoy about the RC world. One of the things I didn't mention, which we all enjoy, is the building aspect, right? Like the behind the scenes, sitting at your bench at 2 a.m. or 2 p.m, building that truck, right? And I love to do that also.
Oh yeah.
And so part of the adventure series that some may not know about is that we really want to reward the builder through our gallery events. So we have that show and tell, or that mini motorama, where everyone gets to bring their truck that they've built and they've spent so much time and line it up in a big row, and then we can all sort of gawk at it and go, look how incredible these builds are. And then we give awards for certain builds that we have identified or a group has identified that are special. And we have many categories, like a motorama would have many categories that we sort of just... I really enjoy the gallery because you get to see the fruits of everyone's labor.
And the Adventure Series gallery, when we do an official Adventure Series gallery, it's all peer voted. We don't vote.
Yeah. So
every one of the drivers gets a card, and they go around and they pick a truck number that they think has the best metalwork or the best paint or the best accessories or whatever, right? It's all peer voted. And that is so cool to see.
Yeah. It truly is. And again, you get to see some really unique awards and trucks that come out of that.
Yeah. So the other side of Adventure Series is the driving side. The driving side is so easy. This is all you got to do. If your tires are under 475, you qualify for all the awards and all that other stuff. If you bring a Wraith and that's all you've got and you want to drive that, then you can come and have fun all weekend too. We don't care, but you won't get scored for it because it's not a scale truck size. So the tires have to be under 475. If they're under 4.2, you get an extra bonus.
Small tires.
Small tires. If you've got things like frame-mounted servo, a driver with feet, operating transfer case, stuff like that, technical truck stuff like that, you get bonus points for that.
Yep.
You need to have, to get the check mark for scale accessory point, you've got to have at least 5 non-functioning items on the truck, like you name it, mirrors, whatever it is. You need 5 of them on the truck to get a point. I don't care if you have 60 on the truck, it doesn't matter. You only need 5 to get a point. And you need 3 working, functioning items on the truck to get that point. If you have 15 functioning items, we don't care how incredible your truck is. If you have at least 3, you get the point. If you have more than 3, we don't care. You still only get 1 point. So it's just so easy to score the trucks. And it puts everybody out on the trail after the gallery. And that's Adventure Series from top to bottom.
It truly is just a good time.
That's it.
Yep.
We're done. That's the whole event.
That's awesome. And so to speak to, like you said, it was important to you to put that gallery piece in there. Last summer was the first time ever where I actually was like more or less recognized for ever doing like the building stuff. And I've won a lot of trophies for competing, and especially locally, and then some other ones in other places. But it was a whole different feel to be recognized in that manner. It was unique and cool.
Yeah.
And I totally appreciated that you guys had like your own side piece that you did at East Coast. And I like that you are focusing in that area because it feels nice as a builder, and I know it feels nice for all the other builders too. Like it's nice to be recognized for
Yeah.
that of just out driving people as well. So, my next
Well, thank
question
you.
would focus on. Hold on, I got lost in my paper as I was thinking. My next question would focus on that not only do you make awesome killer rigs, but you make all these killer parts that go along with them. What rigs are you building right now that are really cool?
So, there's a 66 Chevy up there. That's actually an HPI Venture. And the only thing left on it from the Venture is the frame rails and the axle. So if you want to find out what we did with that, you can come to USTE in 10 days because that's where we're going to show it off. And there's a whole range of new parts there for the Venture. So that's kind of what USTE is about, right? All these people come and they bring all their new stuff. And so we're doing the same thing.
Cool.
So there's that's a really interesting truck. And although it looked really good right out of the box, it was a very capable truck right out of the box. My main problem in RC is I can't leave anything alone.
That's the truth. That is the truth. There's a lot of HPI there, and there's a lot of HPI that's no longer there. I'll tell you that.
So
yeah, for sure.
And I'm actually building that for my Sorka Class 2 truck this year, which is probably not going to point out, but it probably will go anywhere. So I'm really excited about that, and that should be fantastic. Is there a blend between building the truck and then making parts, or do we start with the parts and then make the truck? I don't know. There's kind of I think it goes both ways. Okay, so. Yeah. When you started your 4-door build, maybe you should pull that out and show it off right now.
Sure.
Let's stick that in the camera. We just finished a rig review on this because it was very worthy of it. So Dana just finished his 4-door work truck. And it's on a GCM C-Max, which is great. But because it was the first time we ever did a 4-door, we had to develop a whole bunch of new parts for it.
Mm-hmm. Isn't that the truth?
So, that's kind of just what happens. Yeah,
I think there's there's a lot of prototyping that happens. So sometimes these end up on our trucks, and then we build a truck around it, depending on where the industry's going or what's been released or what truck has been released. Mm-hmm. Like you said, it's a bit of give and take both ways. Whether we're influenced by something that's come out and then we start making parts towards it, or whether we make a specific chassis like the C-Max chassis, which is incredibly versatile. And so I'm still sort of working off of that chassis. It's so versatile, and it allows me to sort of build whatever I need, and then we build parts that go on and add to that. So there's a lot of things going on here for sure.
Yeah.
Out of all the trucks you build, what is like the one thing that you can't leave off of a scale build?
Yeah, that's easy and tough, right? The amount of realism that's in trucks nowadays, you really can't go without a lot. Like there's so much that goes into these, and that you need to put into your trucks to a certain extent. I mean, some don't and some do, but I tend to like to take it to the next level. So there's a lot of scale bits or realistic bits that are going on my truck that have to go on my truck. So I can't really narrow down to one particular piece or item. Mm-hmm. They've got to have a drop bed. They've got to have an interior. Nowadays, they've got to have an engine bay. Around the corner, I see them having to have a completely detailed underneath or, undercarriage. There's just.
Well, the one thing that I have to have, I've come to the conclusion now that I pretty much can't have a truck that actually has battery power on it if it doesn't have an interior. it's got to have some kind of interior, like even the 66 Proline Lexan there that I just showed you. That interior, I'm picking up the Proline interior kit for it.
Right.
And then I'll morph that into a nice looking interior for my Class 2. But it's got to have an interior. It's got to have inner fenders. Like when I see the truck in pictures or in video, I don't want to see through the truck.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I don't want to see the sun shining in the front window out the side of the Lexan door. Like I'm not interested in that anymore. So it's got to be built in a way that it's going to carry some realism, even if it's still a Lexan body. That doesn't matter as much to me as it does looking real.
Yeah.
You know, if I was speaking of GCM specific, it would have to have a scaled drivetrain and a T case in it. It would have to, for sure.
I mean, the trucks are all moving that way for us anyways.
Yeah.
We've got 11 different trucks built on a C-Max chassis now, so that's amazing. You know, it's just like the scaled drivetrain over here is really taking over.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And no two trucks even have the same body on it. Like they're completely different trucks.
Yeah.
And you know what else has, from a manufacturing point of view, Axial Racing has now changed their 3-gear transmission to this one-piece gray case, which has actually kind of put a wrench in the way that we do our new truck chassis and stuff, because we used to take the 3-gear axial transmission and take the motor plate off it and then marry it onto a front motor plate and just drop that into a new chassis or an SCX or HPI, whatever it was. And now that they've changed the way that the case is made on the axial transmission for their own reasons, it makes it more difficult for the aftermarket guys to take that axial transmission and turn it into something completely new. So those are the kinds of things that just drive us closer and closer to a full-scale drivetrain.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think that's where most of the chassis stuff is going to end up anyways in the next short while.
All right.
Not just from us.
I totally see the point there, and I see where it's going. I totally agree with what you're talking about. To ask another question, you had alluded to the fact that you have a YouTube channel, and if people are watching this, more than likely they already know your YouTube channel, because if they're anything like me, they've watched almost all of the videos. And so on there, you do a bunch of different segments, a bunch of different things, but like, what is your favorite kind of video to create and make and put up? Like, I know you're very active, especially Chris, in getting the videos in and out and doing all of that. And I know that's a time-consuming process, but like, what is your favorite video to make?
Well,
I to jump in, I know mine would be, you know, the video that we did with you, sort of at an event, out in the open, you know, in the moment type idea. Those are my favorite videos to do, because you can see the passion in the person that's created it while they're competing with it at an event in the atmosphere. That truly is where I enjoy the videos.
I've got to say that I think the top of the list is definitely those community showcase kind of videos that they are so fun to rewatch.
Yeah.
And sometimes they're actually done in the studio where you get a guest guy on or something and you're doing a rig review even or whatever, and you can just connect with the passion and the quality of the work that went into handicraft, the handcraftness or whatever that went into the build. But other than that, I think as I absolutely love filming, like my all-time favorite thing to do for the channel is actually laying on the ground someplace while somebody's driving my truck around, and I just love doing the shots. I love taking the shots, and you know, I don't even care so much about driving in the video. I just want to see the truck move. I love it.
And we've done hours and hours of that, haven't we? Yeah. There's a few videos on our channel.
In between snowstorms, we fit them in. Yeah,
there's one or two over there on YouTube somewhere, you know. But my next question is one that stumps a lot of people. What is your favorite build out there that is not yours? And so that one's hard because there's great builds all over the place, and usually I get lists of like 6 or 8, 10, or names to check out. But what is the build out there that's not yours that you think is awesome?
Noob has Richard has a a Suburban. So that's the Blazer body that's been turned into a Suburban.
I think it's like 5 Blazer bodies.
Yeah, like he's got 5 Blazer bodies that he's made into
I don't know
a
how many.
Suburban.
Yeah.
I think it's got a green and a silver look to it.
Yeah.
I had a hard time trying to decide which one my favorite is because truly, to be honest, and it may sound repetitive, but there's so much talent out there, and we see it every time we go to these events that it's really, really difficult to choose one. But Richard's latest build, or his 2017 build, if I can call it that, this Suburban was absolutely gorgeous and amazing. So if I had to pick one, it would be that for sure.
Awesome.
I can't pick one, but I'm going to choose 2, and I'll tell you why. My inspiration to step up my game in scale trucking was about 9 years ago, I think, and it was Matt Kett who did a absolute showroom paint job on a Tundra. He did a white Tundra Tamiya build, and it was all stock Tamiya, and he put tons of love and care into it. But for any of you who also know, you remember the one?
Yeah, I do.
He also is a videographer by trade, and so his camera work literally made the truck real. And I realized at that point, like, wow, if I think I love scale trucking, I have no idea. Like, I need to really, learn some stuff and research and find out, like, how do you get paint this nice, And I mean, that build really pushed me way out of my comfort zone, and just I had to, every time I looked at my own truck, I had to say, how can I make this better? How can I take a picture of this that's going to be, anywhere near that kind of a quality? How can I make it show like that? And so for me, it was definitely that one, as far as the view, the presentation, the bodywork and stuff. But the second one that was a major inspiration for me in doing all the scale suspension that we're doing now was Rob Matthews, who I think around the same time, probably 6 or 7 years ago, he could correct me on this, but probably that long ago, he's a full-scale Bronco nut. He's owned and built a bunch of them, and he handcrafted an authentic 10th-scale replica Bronco chassis.
Yeah.
All out of metal, brass, steel. He handcrafted the whole thing. He handcrafted all the suspension mounts, the full body mounts. He put a scale drivetrain in it. It was like literally, and then he gave it to me like 5 years ago. I mean, 4 years ago. I mean, I couldn't believe he actually gave it to me. But the way that the time that he put into that to create a replica that actually matched something authentic under the truck, that was an inspiration for me to really push really far. Like, forget the links, that's all gone for me. I'm done.
Yeah, it's an incredible build. It's a beautiful chassis. It sits in the corner over here.
We have it here. We have it here in the shop.
It's inspiration for sure.
Awesome. That kind of segues into a question. How do you find your truck to build? Where does your inspiration come from? So you guys have built a bunch of trucks. Like, they're all over the shelf behind you. We've seen a ton of them. Where does the inspiration come from?
Oh, man.
I would say, inspiration for me when I decide I'm going to go in a direction with a particular truck could be some of the parts that we're producing or in production. So as you said, that could be a jumping off point as a direction in which I need to go or want to go. Oftentimes, it just depends on my interest, and or if we've gone to an event and I've seen something that I really liked. For example, we had the privilege of going to Florida and going to a Mecum car auction.
Yep.
If you haven't gone to one of these Barrett Jackson or Mecum car auctions, they're incredible, by the way. They're incredible. Talk about inspiration. And there was a Bronco, a Schropp, and I might say it wrong, but
a Schropp Bronco.
Bronco that went across the auction block, and you could go up and see it and look at it and take pictures. And I just saw that, and Broncos, are a great flavor for the RC world that we do. And so that was something that inspired me.
Yeah.
But it just depends on that moment or that particular year or a truck that I've seen driving by that I can't necessarily afford the one-to-one, but I can build a tiny truck, right?
Yeah.
Well, that's the truth. Although I have to admit that I have built, I think 5 or 6 times now, I've built trucks specifically for a class in an event.
Okay.
I've built 2 or 3 skeleton competition trucks just because of Sorka events for class 2.
Mm-hmm.
I built a class 1. I built my cruiser there. I built for East Coast Scale Challenge last year, my class 2. Obviously, it was a hideous fail for a competitive class 2 truck because it's like heavy and big and full fender coverage and all. I mean, it's not, By the way, I've changed it over to a class 1 tire this year, so y'all better beware. Now I'm prepared. But anyways, that one, I built the Bronco here specifically for class 0. It's a 0 truck. What can I say? As authentic as I could make it. I've built a bunch of competition trucks based on that, but the inspiration for me actually comes from a mechanical challenge. I know that sounds funny, but I'm not really that good at bodywork and detail and stuff. My forte is like the mechanical side, the suspension, making it work, making it reliable, making it steer, making it climb, making it drive predictably. Like, I really get a huge fulfillment in my hobby work by doing those kinds of activities. And so, like when the big Raffi Defenders and stuff came out, there's a yellow one up there. That was a collab truck too, by the way, and we're doing some more of those, me and Tim.
Mm-hmm.
When that Raffi body came out, the first thing that came into my mind was, I gotta put that on a C-Max. I don't know how, and I don't even know if it's gonna work, but I'm gonna try it, and I'm gonna take that great big slug of a truck and I'm gonna make it drive awesome. That's like the first thing that came into my mind. And then that created all the development to get all the floor pans, the body mounts, battery tray, bumpers, everything. We created all those parts to marry those two things together to get the Raffi to sit properly on a C-Max, and then we created a suspension setup for it that works great. And in its recommended form, I would drive that truck anywhere. It's great. It's fun. It's huge and really, really heavy. But man, the fulfillment that I got out of marrying those two together and creating a good working truck, I love that.
And I think that's why you and I have a good partnership, because when I make a build, I never consider a class, to be honest. I really sort of want to build that particular truck because I want to, and then hope it fits in a desired class. But I have such good guidance and direction. Like Chris will be like, here's a bunch of new bits, or we're prototyping this, or I need you to work on this, or here's some new, this new axle or what have you. Put it on your rig, build a rig around it, make it work, and then together, I think that's a great partnership because then we go out in the field and have fun with them.
Yeah, that's turned into something really beneficial for both of us, actually.
I agree.
Nice. You mentioned several different influential people around the hobby and so on and so forth. So my question usually is centered around who are the influential people who inspire you, who you are following, like who's doing something cool that you're watching. And if you were going to pick to have somebody on the show, who would you pick?
It's a tough one. There's so many, right? I picked Chris, actually.
Who's this guy?
Yeah, that's who I picked.
Some other guy.
There's so many. I mean, how do you narrow it down? We'd like to see everyone on the show,
You know what? I'll tell you who I think would be a really good addition to the show. Would be the Bauhaus RC team.
Yeah, good point. Dave's such.
Let me tell you what,
Nick,
I have done, thanks to Nick Schwalik and his teaching on batteries and stuff at Ultimate Scale Truck Expo, which, by the way, I absolutely loved. I have since then been able to appropriately educate people on what lipos to pick and choose and stuff like this. And literally, there's an entire section. I'm going to make just a total guess here. I'm going to guess that most scale trucking guys have no idea what they're doing with electronics. And that doesn't mean that you don't know what to pick and what to put together and whatever, but like after you sit in a discussion with a guy like Nick Schwalik and find out like why the components work together and why the battery ratings and ohms matching and all this stuff actually matters. I had no idea about that. I mean, I wondered why half my trucks were on fire. You know, I mean, there's a good pair of guys right there, David and Nick from Bauhaus RC. They have so much to offer a show like this. Like David has done huge amounts of builds. Nick does 3D design, scanning, battery design, and manufacturing. He's got tons and tons of designs with Bauhaus RC with these axle housings that we're using on the NC Yoda axle housings, knuckles.
Yeah.
David's been a team driver for RC four-wheel drive. He's done, like, I mean, those two guys have a huge amount of knowledge that they could share with the community. And they're all over the place at events.
Yeah, that's the truth. And Dave is got such a, I mean, they both have such great personalities, but Dave is bursting with life, no doubt.
Yep.
He'll talk your ear off, and in a good way, and fill you in with the latest and greatest in the RC world. He's so plugged in. It would be an interesting episode to watch for sure.
So
there you go.
There's some suggestions.
Yeah. Perfect. Those are great suggestions. I definitely need some battery knowledge, so maybe I will be going that route. Where do you see our scale crawling community heading in the coming years?
I think the introduction of these 79 Bronco from Traxxas, the HBI introduction, the new line that's coming out from Axial with the new bodies and the SEX2, with us and some of the things that we're doing. I think it's strong. I think it's growing, and I think that's where the direction is going in these incredible, realistic looking rigs that you can buy RTR right down to full custom. I think that's where it's been for a bit, and it continues to grow and be awesome.
You know, I don't know where it can go from here, but I'm sure glad it did get where it is.
Yeah, isn't that true? Yeah, for sure.
I mean, when I first started building Cross Canyon trucks 7 or 8 years ago, like there was like 3 different kinds of tires you could pick.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad that it's not like that anymore.
Yeah, now you can get a whole whack of them. Yeah.
And I mean, now they're sticky and they go places and you can get the mud out of them. And I mean, now it's just great. It is just fantastic. I mean, I don't understand how there's obviously with the RTRs and the big manufacturers, there's always limitations between, you know, licensing, manufacturing techniques and keeping the cost down and all that stuff, because, you know, the big companies really do have a huge amount of overhead and stuff to pay for. And, you know, they really do have to count the pennies and make it work and make a reliable product. And so there's a lot of pressure on them, right? Mm-hmm. And I think that the small guys are starting to rise to the top. That's kind of what I'm seeing. Like when I look through my Facebook feed these days, and I should answer these Facebook comments at some point, because there was a funny one about why I don't take friend requests. I'll answer that later. So when I look through my Facebook feed, I'm seeing stuff popping up constantly, like Trevor Rushford's doing tons of scale events. They keep popping up all over the place. There's a brand new scale park in Tennessee now for RRW, and they've had one in Florida for a couple of years. So that's huge. People creating scale parks, that is huge, okay? There's a Scaleplex there that's down in the Carolinas there, and I know he's still running a Class 1 and stuff, and it's a full hand-built forever course. You know what I mean? Like scale course. That stuff just blows my mind. And it's popping up all over the place. You got guys like Jonathan coming on board doing electronics and lighting and printing, and, you know, Brian Exclusive RC there. He's just blown the doors wide open on scale accessories.
Oh my goodness, eh?
For your shop, the trucks, like all that.
Everything you can think of, Brian does. The scale
everything.
Does. Yeah.
And then, you know, Manitou here that created this MFAB Bronco body that's all printed. JS Scales got a brand new Cherokee Chief they're releasing at Ultimate Scale Truck Expo. There's like the little guys are starting to pop out all over the place, and they're doing it right, and they're coming up with fantastic products that all the rest of us need, and that's where I think it's going.
Yeah, I agree, 100%.
That's awesome. I definitely see what you're saying because I mean, Trevor's all over my newsfeed. His events are everywhere. I definitely see all these other smaller companies. Just it's like every other like post is one of them. So that makes a whole lot of sense. I'm gonna ask this question because I'm really curious about it, but I think I probably already know the answer. Do you currently have any sponsors other than yourselves, and why would you have chosen those people to represent?
I'll let you answer that one.
We don't have any official sponsors, but I will say that thanks to having some really solid quality relationships with other people in the industry, we have a lot of really solid collaborations. And in some ways, they're kind of like sponsorships.
I would say they're friendships. You know, I mean,
It's friendships. It's not. You know, you need to promote my product because I'm giving you a 30% discount or whatever. It's not like that. It's just that everybody knows in the groups that we're in, which I would consider our collaboration groups or whatever. We promote each other's product nonstop. All of us do.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it's not sponsorship as much as it is relationship.
Yep.
Nice.
You know, we're not sponsored by, we're not sponsored by Asia Tees or any of that other stuff. You know, we don't have an RC 4-wheel drive sponsorship or, you know, it's just here. We're just dudes that build tons of scale trucks and
have fun doing it.
And I think we do get some benefits from having those collaborative relationships with people in the industry. That's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And they're big guys and little guys, all around.
Yep.
But it's definitely more about the relationships that we have with these people than it is about specific sponsorships.
Couldn't say it better myself.
Nice. I love that answer. I think a lot of times, especially newer people, are way too centered on like, I need to be sponsored, I need to be this, and we had a couple local people like that, and I always just told them like, sit back and like get to know people and kind of feel out how all of it works, because it's not really all about that. What could we expect to see next coming from you guys, from GCM? What's on the horizon?
Well, excuse me. This year we're going west. We're going out to visit the Michigan boys. You know who you are. And we're going to find out if they're really, I mean, we know half the Michigan guys. They come down to East Coast Scale Challenge.
Thanks,
they come to Berkeley.
Thanks.
You know, it's been so great to see them. And it's just, now it's time for us to head west and get out onto Michigan turf. And so we're really excited about that. We've done Central West Canada already. We're doing Central West Canada again this year. We're going all the way to the West Coast in Canada in April for an Adventure Series kickoff out there at the Lower Mainland Radio Control Club. Incredible. Like, I don't know if you guys know this, but the Scale Builders Guild used to be called Crawl Canada. And it was actually started, I mean, the Scale Builders Guild used to be Crawl Canada way back in its infancy, and it was the West Coast Scale Creators Club.
Yeah.
And Kevin Jowett created the forum for it as Crawl Canada, and then obviously during the course of that time, it became international. He rebranded it as the Scale Builders Guild, which it makes so much sense.
Mm-hmm.
And now, of course, it's owned by two famous guys out here in the East. And so it's really just fantastic. It's for us, we're going west, and that's a big deal for us. We've wanted to go west for a long time for events. As far as the store stuff goes, there's one major design project that I can't get out of my mind that Matt Kett knows what it is because I talked to him about it the other day, but I really want to get that out of my mind and in the CAD and then try to start cutting some parts for it. Other than that, we've just released the Bronco or Ford radius arm scale suspension stuff. The Venture stuff is coming out at Ultimate Scale Truck Expo. We've got the radius arms for the Toyota are coming out at Scale Truck Expo. Couple of new rim designs that I want to get out. And you know what? It's February.
Yeah, it's just starting 2018. It's like the one thing that I really appreciate about Chris and the brand GCM, it's never stagnant. We're always working on something. We're always thinking. We're always trying to improve the tiny truck experience. Whether it be through something that another industry leader has released, and then we can make it better, he's been around for a bit, but we're still riding that wave. It's such a great chassis, as I've mentioned before. So the one thing that I really appreciate, or that what we're doing now, is we're never staying stagnant. We're always moving and trying to improve on what we're doing and what's out there.
Yep. Always.
So at this point, I'm kind of out of questions, and so I definitely thank you guys for coming on.
Thank you.
It was an honor to have you on and get to interview you. It was cool to sit in the other side of it and ask the questions. It was a unique experience for me, and I truly appreciate it. So thank you.
Well, thank you.
Thanks so much, eh?
Yeah, we appreciate it also, for sure. Such a great community, as we said, and this is a neat and nice experience. So I thank you for offering it to us.
I will say that this whole, I'm sorry about the Facebook delay thing at the beginning there. I have to do computers all day, but I don't really understand how half of the stuff works.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you that I've had so many problems and glitches pop up that I would have never expected with the Facebook Live thing. And I'm bound and determined to get it all locked down so it always works every time. And every time I have it figured out, there's a problem at the beginning. So I even practiced with Joe. I had it all set up. I knew it was going to work today, and it didn't work. So
yeah. So somebody posted on the event page that you set up for this.
Yeah.
Somebody posted on there and said, "Hey, how come the guy won't respond to my friend request, right?" And then Todd was like, "Yeah, he won't. He has, it's been 5 years. He still hasn't taken my friend request, Well, Dana was only my friend on Facebook 6 weeks ago or something. So
Yeah.
no, I'm just kidding. But the thing is, anybody who wants to get a hold of me, I am the primary manager of the GCM Racing store page. So if you want to get a hold, I think there's 5 or 6 admins on the page. So people go through and check stuff and keep it moving for me. But for the most part, I'm the guy that answers all the questions. So if you really want to get a hold of me on the GCM Racing page. Super easy. The messages still show up on my phone and all over the computers and stuff. And most of the time I'm running off the computer anyway. So that's really easy to get a hold of me. And if you feel unspecial because I didn't accept your friend request, you're in line with the 482 other people.
Yeah, and Facebook and forums. I'm not much of a computer guy, so I rely on Chris, and he can be sketchy at best. So we do our best at this end, anyways.
We're giving it a try.
For sure.
All right. Thanks again, guys. I appreciate you being on. So at this point, I'll let you guys sign off, and then I'll kind of end it out. And thanks. I don't know what else to say.
Tiny Truck Salute!
Yeah. Cheers, everybody.
Cheers.
Thanks, Adam.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Now I got to figure out how to turn it off.
I think I can exit.
I'm gonna go drink my beer.
Here.
Oh, I think I can X off my own name here. Here we go.
All right, perfect. So, again, one more shout out to the GCM guys. I totally appreciate them being on. It was unique to sit in this seat and interview them. It was an honor. I genuinely enjoyed it. Pay attention to the Live at 945 Facebook group. I created a group so that people could join it and get notified when live videos happen. They could get notified when I post up about different people who are going to be on, different guests, so on and so forth. That entire group is focused around that. So if you're watching this and you don't know what that group is, you haven't found it, it's just Live at 945 hosted by Van Ord Customs. And so go over there, give that page a like, and it'll notify you when I go live, and we'll get some more viewers and whatnot. Other than that, I do have some awesome interviews coming up. I have Brian Parker, so if you're involved in the RC crawling community at all, you know who Brian Parker is. I have Matt Kett, who was mentioned in this interview multiple times. I have Akaika Farrier, who is the owner of the Crawl Space out in Colorado, a fierce competitor. I got the chance to meet him last summer. He's a great guy. He will have lots of valuable insight, and I have a bunch of feelers out there as well, and I'm always looking. I'm always trying to find people, so if you're someone out there who wants to be on, or you know someone who wants to be on, go ahead and shoot me a message, and I'd be more than happy to track down leads and talk to people. I'm scheduled a ways out right now, so it wouldn't be for approximately a month or so, but that's where it's at. So other than that, I appreciate everybody for tuning in, checking it out, and what's going on. Oh, and I just saw Josh popped up. Josh is also coming on, Josh Theed, also known as Harley. He does lots of cool stuff. He's a big video personality in our hobby, and it will be a very interesting interview for me as well, because I've followed Josh since I started in the hobby, so I'm excited to talk to him on camera. But like I said, I'm signing off, so I will catch you guys all later, and thank you for tuning in, and my next one will be next Thursday at 9:45. Thanks.